Wisdom is knowing what to do, one, and doing it. So you cannot be wise and doing it. So you cannot be wise if you know. You can go to school and know. Actually, most of our politicians know what to do. But what matters is to do it. Most pastors have read what to do. But what matters is to do it. Most graduates know what to do in the office. But what matters is after the interview, you said what you're going to do. But when you are given the task, what to do is a thing. And I'm saying that action-oriented is now taking a step.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to a new year here on InfoQuest Media. I don't know how 2024 went for you. Mine was a bit here and there, but then we made it through by the grace of God. We are here in a new year, and as such, we all have a fresh start. And that's the title of our new show, Fresh Start. Now, what is it about fresh start? Why do we need a fresh start? What are we even going to talk about on this show? Today, I have with me Dr. Richmond Kwame Frimpong. Now, he's an award-winning author, he's a business leader, he's a financial advisor. He's a man well-versed in our topic. Why? Because he actually has a book called New Year, Fresh Start. And that's the main theme that we'll be using for our discussions here on this show. You're welcome, Doc.
Thank you, Terence.
Now, I want us to get straight into it. It's a new year. Why do we need a fresh start?
Well, thank you. The principle of fresh starts is wired into our being as people.
Okay.
It's wired into our daily routine in terms of our lives. And it's wired into every single thing that happens, living or non-living.
Okay.
So it's a principle. So if you go back to life, you will see that any day you start the day, there is an end to the day.
Yes.
When the day ends, you cannot just continue. Your system shuts down. It doesn't matter who you are. So at a point in the night, you will not even remember when you slept, with or without your permission.
Yes.
So you are either deliberately shutting down to begin again, or your system will shut down without your permission. Then when the next day begins, all of a sudden again, with or without your permission, you begin again. This is the one that you can do nothing about. The one you can do something about is that when you notice you have woken up, the things you did the day before, you notice that you don't say, I brushed my teeth, so I'm going to continue with that. Or I took a bath, so I'm going to continue that. You begin again.
Yes.
Even for your phone, that is non-living. Within a certain period, the phone shuts down. And then you have to charge it again for it to begin afresh. So my point is, fresh start is important because that is the principle of life.
Wow.
Now, if you are watching, don't just write away principles. You may not know it, you may not understand it, but it does not need your permission to be active. So I'll break it down. Principles are things that are constant and they happen.
Okay.
An example is a principle that brings you down anytime you jump within a certain diameter or certain radius.
Gravity.
As long as you jump over that kind of space of sphere, if you don't go beyond it, you come down.
Yeah.
It takes another principle, like the thermodynamics principle, that an airplane will pick to defy the principle of gravity.
Yeah.
So my point is that fresh starts is something that you need to take serious. But the good thing is that you have to decide whether you want to do it or you want it to be done to you anyway.
Yeah.
Now, for you to be active and partake in it, there are three critical things anybody watching should do if you want to start afresh. Number one, you must be intentionally driven.
Okay.
When I say intentionally driven, let me break it down. It's as simple as you looking to get a girlfriend that you've never met anywhere,
Okay.
but you've eyed. And the first day you meet her, in her mind, you just happen to bump into her. But in your mind, you deliberately chose the path you were going to take to meet her.
Yes.
So to her, it may be serendipity, but to you, it's intentional. So the fact that you bumped into her and you said, hello, sorry, it looks like I know you. You look very familiar. And the conversation begins. That is your intentionality. but it is becoming like it is not intentional. So when I say intentionally driven, it means you must be deliberate
Great.
to start afresh. Number two, you must be thinking intensive. Some thought work must go into it. I use the same example. I'm chasing this lady on campus. I'm chasing this guy in my area. I will dress in a particular way so that I can catch his attention.
Yeah.
Or I will go to his DM so that I can get his attention. Or I will find a DP that will make him come and watch my WhatsApp status so I can get it. So you have thought through what must happen. It is that item or that task we call thinking intensive. So you must put some thought and detailing into what really do I want to do differently. That is to be thinking intensive, because it will not just happen.
Yeah.
The third thing is action oriented. It is very easy to say. It is very easy to say, but it is most important to do.
Yeah.
In fact, wisdom is knowing what to do, one,
Yeah.
and doing it. So you cannot be wise
to do
and doing it.
doing it.
So you cannot be wise if you know.
Yeah.
You can go to school and know. Actually, most of our politicians know what to do. But what matters is to do it.
To do it.
Most pastors have read what to do. But what matters is to do it. Most graduates know what to do in the office. But what matters is after the interview, you said what you're going to do. But when you are given the task, what to do is a thing. And I'm saying that action-oriented is now taking a step that moves you from one point to another. If you take a step and it is at the same state, you have not begun. So start afresh, because if you don't, with or without your permission, the new year will begin, the new day will begin, the new month will begin. And listen to what Jesus said in Mark 2:22. He said, "Is there anybody who puts an old wine into a new wineskin?"
Wow.
Surprise. So if you don't want to start afresh, you are putting a new wine, which is the new year God has given you, into an old wineskin. The guy called Kwame, the lady called Abba.
Yeah.
And I can promise you, you are heading for a crash.
So you've talked about three things. The last one, the action part. In thinking intensely, maybe I want to start a business. Every year, that's what I've wanted to do. Now, the things I did previously were supposedly supposed to be right, but they didn't work out that way. How do I assess what I should take out and then the new things I should adapt?
Right.
Yes.
So anyone watching us should not be in a hurry
Okay.
to just start afresh. It doesn't matter what time you are watching this. The year might have taken a day, a two, a third, even in the middle of the second month.
Yes.
But it means nothing to you as far as you have not done these three things. You have not started afresh. For somebody watching, in probably even in December, in the end of the year, it may be your fresh start. Why? Because you have not done the things you have to do. I'm saying that if you have to be intentionally driven, then it means you have considered what you want to do.
Okay.
So Jesus again said in Luke 14:28, he said, "Is there any man who decides to build a tower and does not sit down to count the cost and check if he has enough to build?" That is an expression of surprise, meaning that anybody who does not do this is actually a surprise to God himself. So if you think you have done it year in, year out, and it hasn't worked, it means you've probably not considered it. And that is intentionally driven.
Okay.
I want to do something this year. How intentional am I about? Or I'm just looking at the tagline of the year that my church gave me on 31st night, a year of whatever. And I'm flying on that wing. Or because my political party is in power, I'm assuming that all of a sudden everything will work. No, intentional means that you have figured out what you want to do and considered what if it doesn't work, you will still do. It is not enough to be intentional and just think about what you want to do. You must think about what if it doesn't work, so that you have figured out if this plan does not go the way we are looking for it, then this is the other way I want to look at it. So when you commence, you have figured out what else you have to do. That is to be intentional.
Okay.
The next one is to be thinking intensive, means think through the details of what exactly you want to do. I want this new year to be new. I want this fresh start to be fresh. But what exactly am I going to do? I don't have a university admission, but I want to read law at the end of 2025. It is not just enough to say it. Think through, what must I do so that this time I get admission? That means you consider things differently. What did I do that did not make me achieve this? Should I do it differently? Should I speak to somebody who can help me do it better? Should I now get another help from another place? Is it about money? What is it? Think through that detail.
Okay.
That is to be thinking intensely. And then the third one, please take a step that is different from the step you took the year before.
Yeah.
That is to be action oriented. If you do these three things, then even if you did something last year, you did something last week, last month, the last 6 months, and you said you were intentional, but it didn't turn out this way. I think if you look at this differently in these three anchors, I believe that you would definitely make a progress that is better than the period before.
Wow, I'm already learning so much. So you don't just decide, it's like, this is the way things are. A lot of thought should go into it, being intentional, being action oriented and all that, and then taking the steps towards it. Okay, so now let's make it very practical. Let's say I want to write a book. I just want people to get exactly what we mean. I want to write a book. Let's start from the intentional stage. Is it something to do with the topic, or by the intentional stage, you should have already known what book you are writing, what it's about and all that? Let's make it a bit practical. Yeah.
So please follow me.
Okay.
The case we are using is writing a book.
Yeah.
So picture this. Writing a book is a thought that has come to your mind.
Yeah.
And so that is something you are looking forward to having. It is not very different from you walking to a mall or a shop and having in mind that you want to take something out of the mall or buy something out of the mall. The idea of writing a book and the decision to visit the mall to take or buy something, they are the same, but I'm making it pragmatic.
Yes.
You take a step and move into the mall, and then you know what exactly you want to go and pick. Actually, you can take anything you want as long as you have decided this is what I'm going to pick in the mall.
Yeah.
But when you pick it, before you leave the mall, there is something you will do.
Yeah.
You will turn that item, or you look on the shelf and see what price tag is on that item. You are able to only take that item out of the mall to your home if you are willing and able to pay the price that comes with that item.
Yeah.
So deciding to write a book is the least of the things you should be worrying about. But you should now begin to ask yourself, what does it take to write the book? And then you begin to find those things so that then you begin the journey to getting it. One author said, success is not like a restaurant where you go and you order your food and finish eating before you make a purchase or a payment. Yeah. Success, rather, is like a cafeteria. In a cafeteria, you would have to pay for that food before it gets to you.
That statement stood out to me in the book. As soon as I read it, I was intrigued that, hey, you can't say more book. Yeah, it was very interesting. So it's like most of us want to be successful. It's everybody you speak to in whatever they are doing. They want to have some sort of success in it. But then you've made us understand that having the success in whatever you do actually starts from three things. The first one is being intentional.
Correct.
Because it's very easy to want something, but then the steps towards it, I mean, that one is for somebody else. Or sometimes we feel we can magically, it's like happenstance, will just happen on whatever we want. So where you've taken it from is very interesting to me. And another thing that stood out to me is, most of us are Christians. So the fact that there is a link to the fresh start, starting something, and even what the Bible is saying, I am very, very intrigued.
Right.
I'm very, very intrigued. But then it's only the start of the conversation. It's only the start of the conversation.